So, welcome to Instagram Live on lag can and lag defloratum. In Alan's keynotes, we have so far covered many remedies, and today is the time to take something that is complementary to the previous day's remedy, and that is what we covered yesterday was lag cases and lycopodium. And today we have something which is very much close enough with the cases. When we have an acute or when we have a chronic, and you have something that is more closer towards the throat symptoms. So you will give the cases, no doubt about it. But there will be traces of lag can also. And I don't want you all to miss this because it's a very integral and important prescription as well. So let's go over and read Lacan from Allen's keynotes. The first line which Allen says about Lacan is very forgetful, absent minded, makes purchases and walks without them. So you can see that there is almost a state like that of Medorinum or someone who is more closer to getting forgetful like anacardium. And there is a remedy mentioned in the bracket which is Agnus castors, anacardium, causticum, and natronate. So someone who forgets things, and it's not just about purchases, but it's also about something is kept somewhere, something is bought from somewhere, and he purchases or picks up that thing, but then he keeps it elsewhere and then he forgets it. So it is something like a combination of doing one thing and forgetting something the very next moment. And that is what we clearly see in Black Can. There are four other remedies mentioned, which is Agnus castors, anacardium, causticum, and natronate. Going further, and there are a lot of mental symptoms which are mentioned. So, basically, this remedy we will be able to catch hold of in patients from the kingdom point of view when they have some more of features like that of a civilized dog, civilized animal. So here we have something more which is mentioned, which goes like in writing he uses too many words, not the right ones, omits the final letter or letters or many letters in a word, and he cannot concentrate. He cannot concentrate the mind to read, to study, to write, and he is a very nervous patient. So basically, this state, if you see, it is more applicable and more relevant to people who have dyslexia, who have attention deficit disorders, and who grow up and they still cannot focus because they are having this pattern which was running through in their families. And there will be many such patients who will have this trait which is running in the family, someone who is forgetful. Their parents were also forgetful, their mother, their father, their siblings. It's a series of people in their family who are forgetful and they also get that trait. But more so often, lack care you will see in patients who have uh, more of civilized nature, and there is someone dominating him. And we see that very clearly. We saw it yesterday, the remedy lycopodium. It's clear that there is a need for power in lycopodium, and we see it from different sources. But over here, uh, And lycopodium is also very much dominated, very much civilized, very much, threatened to stay in those norms. And Lacan also has this feeling where he is dominated by someone else and he has been dictated to stay on the words of that person. So we studied this very clearly in the kingdom differentiation workshop which we undertook in the month of April. So going further in Lacan, we have he is a very nervous patient like the remedies Movista, Graphitis, Lacases, Natrum Carb and Sapia. Now, Natrum Carb as a person is a very despondent, hopeless, and thinks her disease is incurable. She does not have someone who, she can depend on or call as a friend. Everyone has betrayed. Everyone has, uh, not behaved well with the person, and nothing is worth living for. So this phase comes when there have been constant betrayals in the life of a patient, and he feels that everyone is out there to fight him, out there to trouble him, out there to uh, you know make him feel worthless. There is a very strong feeling in Lacan, and I want you all to go to the repertory and check this rubric, which is contemptuous of oneself. Okay, there are 4 5 remedies in the older repertories. In the latest repertories, example the complete, the synthesis, you will find some 10 18 remedies. But Lacan is one of the top remedies for contempt of oneself, and that comes when someone in their life, in or around, gives them this feeling, constantly dominates them, dictates them, and that's why they become despondent, hopeless, thinks that her disease is incurable, has not a friend living, nothing worth living for, and he or she could weep at any moment. Mostly it's the state of females. You will see 60 to 70% of females in this state, and around 30 to 40% males. And the other remedies mentioned over here are Civicifuga, Aurum, Calcarea carb, and Lachesis. The person is very cross, irritable. If it is a child, he is very weepy, cries, screams all the time, and especially at night, like the remedies Jalapa, Naxomica, and Sorinum. Fears to be alone, like Kalika, fears of dying, like arsenic, and of becoming insane, or he will go mad, she will go mad. Something is happening to me, I will go mad, give me the medicine. And actually, many of the Lacan patients that you will see in your clinic, they will be under psychiatric treatment somewhere or the other down the line in their history. There are many fears of being alone, of dying, of becoming mad or insane, which is what we call like Lilium tigrinum, and also fear of falling from down the stairs, like the remedy Borax. There are attacks of rage, cursing, swearing at slightest provocation. Now, someone who has seen this environment of fights, quarrels, that everything is not well in the home or outside or in the workplace or in friends, also becomes like that, and he starts cursing, he starts criticizing, he starts swearing, talking bad words, and he is very intensely ugly and hateful. People who are nervous, restless, and who are highly sensitive, they need this remedy. Someone who also has change of pain, sudden change of pain from one place to another, there is erratic pain, constantly flying from one part to the other, like the remedies Kali bichromicum pulsatilla, and they change from one side to the other every few hours or few days. Further, we have chronic blue condition. Everything seems so dark that it can grow no darker. Now, this seems to be more indicated towards the physical appearance of some organ or some part which has become threatened with a lot of inflammation going on since many days. And the other remedies mentioned are lycopodium and pulsatilla. And then you have symptoms of lycopodium, which is very hungry, cannot eat enough to satisfy, as hungry after eating as before. And this is a very, very, very strong symptom in lycopodium. In lycopodium, yesterday we saw that they have hunger immediately after they finish eating. They will eat by mouthfuls, small small quantities. It's called nibbling appetite. And traits of lachesis and lyco you will see very clearly in black cat. So if you feel that physical generals are matching that of lyco, and the mind state matches that of lachesis, think of black cat. It is a combination of, and the physical state, physical generals match that of lyco, but the physical particulars match that of pulsatilla. So chronic blue condition, I will. Dr. Chandrasekhar has asked us a question on YouTube, and if I vividly remember reading different books for this remedy, I think it is mostly related to the parts which are threatened, the parts uh, which are under the influence of infections for a long time, and there is nothing much more worse than the part about to turn gangrene or deteriorate to the worst condition. But this is the stage where you are called in and you see and you prescribe Laccan. It can also be taken as something that is off from the mind state, of course, just like how the people who practice mind method take it as. It also would mean that something that is gloomy for a person in his life, and he doesn't know what to do further, how to do further, and there is a dead end in front of him, and he doesn't understand how to proceed further. So there can be explanations for physical point of view and for the mental point of view. But I would say that in the provings and in the top source books, we mostly see that this condition is for the parts which are you know reeling under the inflammation and infection for a very long time. It can be like 1 month or 2 months, and I had a beautiful case now because Dr. Chandrasekhar asked me. I would be sharing that case on my timeline very soon on YouTube, on Instagram. So those who are watching, they can stay tuned to this beautiful case of a child who was not improving on any medicine, and then the moment I gave Lacan, he kind of opened up the entire case. So it was like this, where all the remedies failed, the infection was going worse, pyrogen was not working, and Lacan started, and Lacan now. So maybe you can correlate in this way. Okay. Then we have the symptom in Allen's keynotes for Lacan. When walking seems to be walking on air, and when lying, it seems he does not seem to touch the bed. I think this is a more of a sensation. It must have come as a sensation in sensitive persons. The remedy mentioned in comparison is Asaram europeum. Then the physical symptoms, which is coryza with discharge of thick and white mucus, one nostril stuffed up, other is free, and these conditions alternate. Discharge is acrid and lip is raw, like the remedies Aram triphyllum, Helium cepa. And the diphtheria and tonsillitis symptoms rapidly change from side to side. So I already shared that this was one case which I had, was not improving on any medicine, and I thought that I was almost losing the patient, and he may probably switch over to allopathy. And there was a septic condition which was developing. He was having throat pain, fever was not going on constantly, and pyrogen was given. It didn't help, and then I gave Lacan and it worked. So if I focused on the foci of infection, it helped a lot to uh, open up the entire case rather than focusing on the peripheral symptoms, which was heat in single parts, or patient who is dull and drowsy during the fever state, all those symptoms. So next we have in Allen's keynotes for Lacan, sore throats and coughs that are apt to begin and end with menstruation. So someone who has uh, you know constant throat complaint with before, during, or after menstruation, very strong other remedy is Senecio aureus. So if you go in Boric, you will see that throat complaints instead of menses is very strongly mentioned for Senecio aureus. And if you give Senecio aureus, the throat complaint will subside and the menstruation will happen. Then there is in Lacan, in Allen's keynotes, we have yellow or white patches in the sore throat and pains that shoot to ear. So there was one remedy I discussed in the past 24-25 days, which had this kind of a pain which was shooting it from the throat to the ear. If anyone can share the remedy, uh, I would I would highly appreciate, because this is a series of sessions which we are doing for all the people who want to master Allen's keynotes and study it, and you know uh, become the sharpshooter prescription you know so those who can share about this remedy which I shared in the last 25 days for pain which is shooting from throat to the ear. So yes, Dr. Rashida, you are sharing about Eparsulf. Yes, one of the remedies was Eparsulf. Any other remedy which comes to your mind, which we have discussed in the last 25 days for pain in the throat shooting to the ears? It's a very strong indication of that remedy. So you can just scan through your gray cells and get the name of that medicine. Meanwhile, we'll proceed further. So in Lacan, it has symptoms of lachesis, as I told you, which is throat that is sensitive to touch externally and aggravated by empty swallowing. So internally it is like Heparsulf, also like lachesis, and externally it is like lachesis. And then there is constant inclination to swallow. In spite of the pain in the throat, they have the feeling that they should swallow the saliva constantly. But that becomes painful and almost impossible. The other remedy mentioned is Merksol. And the pains extend to the ear. The other remedies mentioned are Heparsulf and Calibiclomicum. And if it begins on the left side, in the my expression, it must be shown as the right side, but it's a mirror image, that's why it shows like that. The other remedy is lachesis. So there is shiny glazed appearance of the diphtheritic deposit. There are chancres, ulcers, sensation as if her breath would leave her when she is lying down. She must get up and walk about, because when she lies down, she has more complaints. This is like the cases which has more of aggravation when they go to sleep. The other remedies mentioned are, of course, lachesis, one of the remedies, and then we have Grindelia robusta, which is very good respiratory remedy. We'll read in Boric when we do the Boric Materia Medica study stream, and then we have ammonium carb, the third remedy. In Lacan for gastrointestinal system, Allen mentions that there is sinking at epigastrium and faintness at the stomach, palpitation in the cardiovascular system, which is more aggravated on lying on the left side, better by turning on the right side, Sexual organs are easily excited from touch, from pressure on sitting, or friction by walking, like the remedy cinnamon, coffea, murex, platina. So all these remedies that are mentioned are very highly sensitive remedies, and if you understand about the sensitivity that is mentioned, not exactly the sexual excitement, but the sensitivity which is mentioned, you will be able to understand the sensitive nature of the patient when they prescribe, when they tell you in the clinic, and you will be able to prescribe lactaid on those basis. Then we have menses, which is too early, too profuse, flows in gushes, bright red, viscid and stringy. If it is dark black and stringy, it is crocus cacti. If it is bright red, viscid and stringy, it is laccan. Breasts are swollen, painful, sensitive before and during. So everything that has to do with the menstrual complaints before or after or during, and something that has a connection with the female breasts and the menses has to show you the path to laccan. Other remedy I would say is magnesium. They also have similar complaints of breasts or the meme during, before, during, or after menses. In fact, here it is given Onaim also one of the remedies, but Onaim is not given as a chronic remedy unless you really understand that it is from that point of view, from the umbelliferous family, and it has that chronic thing which is going on. But magnesium will be the state of many women, and I'll come to it when I will be discussing about magnesium. In fact, on my YouTube channel, Alpesh Oza, you can go and watch about magnesium. I have discussed it on one of the webinars which we used to undertake in 2015 and 16. So it's all about black can from Allen's keynotes today, so we'll stick to it. Then there is discharge of flatus from vagina like chromium, lipo, nux mosciata, and sanguinaria. The breasts are inflamed, painful, aggravated by least jar towards evening. Must hold them firmly when going up or down the stairs, like the remedy bryonia. It is serviceable when, in most of the cases where the milk from the breast is in excess quantity, and it must not be there because the child is grown up and one needs to be weaned off. So you can give laccan in 200 or 1 m potency for 2 or 3 times a day for 10 to 15 days, and you will see the result. Like, you can also think of the remedy asafoetida. If you want to bring back the milk or increase the quantity, you should think of the remedy lac de florida. Lac can also be indicated in women who have suddenly lost the appearance of milk without any known cause, like asafoetida, which is the other remedy. Then you have backache, which is intense, unbearable, and across the suprasacral region. So it is just between the lumbar and the sacral spine, and it extends to the right buttock and the sciatic nerve, and it is aggravated by rest and on first motion, like the remedy Raj talks. The spine aches from the base of the brain to the coccyx. Again, you will see it is very sensitive to touch and pressure. Then we have leg can relationship, which is very much similar to apis, conium, murex, lachesis, calibicromicum, pulsatilla, sepia, and sulfur. It is mentioned that it generally acts in single dose, but I would say if this was written at a time when single dose was the highest potency, like 10 m or cm or dm, it meant single dose. But in today's age, based upon the conditions in acute, it will need frequent repetition, And in chronic cases, you can give one dose for or 1 m or 200 based upon the conditions. Of course, if it is more of mental plane that you see prominently in the remedy, then you should think of 1 m. If it is more of 30 or physical complaints, then think of 200 or 1 m, either of them. So this the medicine in those chronic cases can be given twice a day for 1 or 2 days, and then give placebo for the further duration. So we finish LAC-CAN, and next we go to lac-defloratum, one of the most undermined remedies for diabetic conditions and also the Bright's disease, which is affecting the kidneys. And every symptom that is given in Allen's keynotes or different materia medicas have been verified by curing the patients accordingly. So again over here in the lac-defloratum, which is skimmed milk, you have the feeling that there is despondent, does not care to live, has no fear of death, but he is sure he is going to die. Over there was a fear of death, but here there was the more of a fear, no fear of death, but he feels that it is certain. अब तो जी के करना ही क्या है? Okay, this will be the expression of the patient. मौत तो नजदीक है, अब तो जी कर करना ही क्या है? So someone who is troubled with the problem since many years, many months, and he sees no uh, life ahead because of the disease, that should make you think of lactafluoride. Also, can you can think of it either of the remedies based upon the physical particulars. Disease with faulty and defective nutrition with reflex affection of nervous centers. Then you have globus hystericus. So something that is, troubling the patient again and again, which is looks like gas symptom, but it's not actually the gas symptom. And the remedies we know are asafoetida and calmia, which is very close, asafoetida especially. Sensation as of a ball rising from the stomach to the throat and causes a sense of suffocation. There is great restlessness, extreme and protracted suffering from loss of sleep. If you see a patient who is having chronic loss of sleep, not acute. Acute, you should think of Nux vomica. If it is chronic, you should think of nitric acid, the first remedy. Also, nitric acid for males, oculus for females, and lac-defloratum either for males and females. Lac-defloratum basically in cases where there is more of a domination which is there in the history of the patient. Feels completely exhausted whether she does anything or not. Great fatigue when walking. Sensation as if cold air was blowing on her even while she was covered up, as if the sheets were damp. Dropsy from organic heart disease, from chronic liver complaint, far advanced albuminuria. So something that is progressed since a long time, many months. And also something that happens after a long bout of fever. And there is obesity and fatty degeneration. It is mentioned that lac-defloratum is one of the top remedies for American sick headache. What happens in that? Something that begins in the forehead, extends to the occiput, and in morning on rising. So basically, it is something about people partying the whole night, going to bed very late, and then waking up the next morning with a bad headache because their sleep timing was erratic. Something that is the need of the hour in people who are working in the field of IT, in people who are having erratic sleep patterns. Your sleep is very integral, and it is the one of the important things that regulates your bowel movements, your other functions of the body. So it's very important. There is intense throbbing with nausea, vomiting, blindness, and obstinate constipation. So you could see it's mentioned in a series that there is headache, then there are other complaints. There is also mention of other similar remedies, which is epiphagus, iris versicolor, and sayunaria. Aggravated by noise, light, and motion, like the remedies Magnure and Silica. And if it happens during menses, the headache is more worse during menses. We should think of creosote and sepia. If there is great prostration, better by pressure, bandaging the head tightly, then you should think of lag can. Also, you can think of urgentum hepaticum and pulsatilum. And with the headache which is bothering the patient, you will see someone who is also having frequent calls to urination. So, frequent calls to urination with headache should make you think of lactate fluoridum. But if there is frequent calls to urination and there are other syphilitic pathologies, you should think of Merck's Sol actually. And if you go back to Merck's Sol and read about Merck's Sol, you will see that there is a mention of uh, urging to urinate frequently. So those children and those people who want to go for passing urine very frequently, you should think of Merck's Sol. Then in gastrointestinal system, you have for like defloratum, vomiting that is incessant, no relation to eating, and it is first of undigested food, intensely acid food, and then there is a bitter and watery which liquid which comes out. Also, vomiting of pregnancy, you can think like defloratum as one of the top remedies. Then you have constipation with ineffectual urging, like the remedies anacardium and stomata. Feces are dry, hard, like diarrhea and sulfur. And of course, it goes without saying that stools are large, hard, great straining, lacerating anus, painful, extorting cries. In fact, I would say that people, or rather children, who are weaning off the mother's milk and put on the cow milk or buffalo milk, they develop constipation. They should be given lactafluoretum. Maybe you can give 200 or 30 potency once a week, and the primary reason being that when the milk consistency changes, they develop constipation. Also, the second reason is that it, the situation is new for them to not pass the stools in diapers if you are also potty training the child. So, those cases will require lactafluoretum more often. Then we have in short, a case which is mentioned that a woman who had taken 10 to 12 enemas per day, the constipation was so bad, but it got cured with lactafluoretum. And then you have female reproductive system from Allen's keynotes for lactafluoretum, which is showing you that there is a delay of menses by putting hands in cold water, like the remedy phosphorus, like the remedy conium, and drinking a glass of milk will promptly suppress the flow until the next period. So it's very funny, but this is the fact that these little things will delay or suppress the menses. In boric repertory, when you go to nasal complaints and coryza or sneezing, aggravated by putting hands in cold water, you will see only two remedies. One is lactafluoretum and another is phosphorus. So someone who gets wet by constantly getting exposed to water in one way or other, you should think of lactafluoretum as the top remedy. So that brings us to the end of lag can and lag defloratum today, and we'll study a group of remedies tomorrow evening again as a continuation of Ellen's keynotes study street. And I hope this is helping you all from my added experiences and also from the, the symptoms and the conditions that are mentioned in the Ellen's keynotes. So I hope there are many viewers on YouTube, there are many viewers on Instagram. So if I get a reply about how it's going, I will be more than happy to come out with something which is more clinically and practically relevant to you in future. So those who are watching can just drop a message of how things have been going from Alan's keynote study streak, and what are your learnings, and what are your experiences basically? How are you experiencing the whole streak, the study streak that we are doing for studying purpose? No one. So anyone can just share about, are you enjoying the Allen's keynote study streak? Yes or no? If I get an answer, I know that we are on the right track. Otherwise, it's just plain lecture that is going on as a one side. I'm just coming and speaking to the social media and going back home with nothing around. Okay, so Dr. Sharda has shared that it is helping. Anyone else? Yeah, Dr. Narendra Paul. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Dr. Purvi. Okay, Dr. Sobia Fatima. Learning a lot. Thank you for your efforts. So it's just something that is being added with what is written, which is practically important, which is what I am sharing. Uh, so anyone on YouTube also would like to add or share something? I saved all the videos and in free time start studying. Good to know. So there is an interesting thing which is coming up, and if you stay tuned to my YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, you are going to get something which is never before seen in the field of homeopathy. So stay tuned for that magic or miracle moment. So till then, till tomorrow, stay tuned, and we'll get back together with two or three remedies tomorrow. So till then, bye bye.